Hey everyone, Steve here from PC Budget Solutions, and this is a pretty exciting time for me to a degree. I've had both Scythe and PC Kohler reach out and send me review samples. You've seen the Scythe unboxing, review, and installation. Today we are going to see the first heatsink I've received from PC Kohler. $69.99 on Amazon, so this is going to be like basically where I'm going with this. I have another one over here which will be unboxed next, and we're looking at Kohler's ranging from about $60 to $70. I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. If this doesn't sell, the computer behind me 5 Kohlers to test, and I'm going to try to do a semi-standardized test as well. That test will probably come later on in June. So it's going to be a little bit of a gap from these next 2 videos. It's going to take a fair bit of work, and I have to source some parts because I want to have kind of standardized test bench here pretty soon. So without further ado, let's get this box open and take a look at what PC Kohler sent me. Full disclosure, I'm a little bit annoyed, not with PC Kohler, they're fine, but I'm glad I realized that LGA 115X is the same mounting, because I had somebody say, hey, I want to buy this computer, and I put it together, and then he ghosted me like an hour beforehand. So, not particularly happy about that, but I have an 1155 board, which I can do some test mounting with. So, let's take a look at what we got here today. So, this is the GI-D66A. It has, I believe, 6 heat pipes. It claims it's rated at 230 watts. It has the Halo RGB fan, so I think these are a little bit different than what we're used to. It supports AM4, AM3, LGA 2000X or 20XX, and 115X, so we should be good there. Let's see what it says in the back in English. It's 160 millimeters tall. Okay. CFM is 72 cubic feet per minute, not all that interesting. RPM ranges from 1 to 2,000. Noise caps out at about 30 dBA, plus or minus 10%. So let's go ahead and open her up here and take a look. Ooh. It's already kind of most of the way together here. And then we have some mounting hardware. Let's take a look at how this is going to mount. And then we'll take a look at actually doing it. So this is it. It already has fans on and everything else is ready to roll. This is actually important. So let me explain. So this has 2 PWMs. So that's good. We have a PWM splitter, perfect. We have 3 of these. I'm confused. Why do we have 3 of these? Unless there's additional LEDs. I think there might be. I think there's LEDs up here. We'll take a look. But we have 3 of these. That is for addressable RGB. And then, okay, so you also have this as well, which will hook into these. Then you have that goes into the board, or alternatively you can plug it into here and use this controller as well. So you do indeed need 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB, or you have to use that piece. Now let's take a look at some additional stuff here. We're just going to see just how difficult it is to mount this. So this looks to be a single backplate for both AM4 and Intel. Looks to potentially, I think this for Intel, what will happen is it'll face potentially this way maybe. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how everything is going to mount, because it says Intel on the back and AMD on the front. So I suspect that it's going to have to, flip depending on which socket you're using. And then looking at the mounting hardware, I'm going to try to eyeball how this is going to work here. 2011, not interesting. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't deal with 2011. I do have mainstream budget stuff, so let's see. We have, this is for, okay, so this is for 2011. That's not interesting. The Intel bracket is labeled. AMD bracket is labeled, so that's good. We have retention screws of some sort. So yeah, we're definitely going to want to take a look. Oh, we even have a screwdriver and thermal paste. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to read the manual, and then we're going to figure out how to mount this on AM4 first. And then we'll do an LGA 11.5 export after that. And I'm just going to pre-warn everybody, I'm not going to be using the thermal paste. I'm going to use that later. So, a couple things. With both AMD and Intel, what you'll do is, here, I'll pull these up, hopefully I don't fall, yeah, I shouldn't fall off, is you put these screws to the bottom, make sure you have them turned so they come all the way through, and you put these like black washer looking things all the way down. And that will give a good secure base to the board. Next, we're going to take the AMD mounting hardware here, and there should be somewhere in all this probably 2 screws if I had to take a guess. So we're going to want to find those. There's actually 4 screws, and it looks to be in the Intel bag. So just food for thought. You might have to open the Intel bag before you go any further. And what we're going to do is we are still going to reference the directions here. Is this for... No, this is for the previous CPU. Here we go. So, AM4, other side here. Okay, so it should go like that, I believe is what it looks like. Yeah, it looks like these face in. So, we're going to grab our screwdriver. And you want to keep these pieces out of the way here. Get that most of the way down just so it kind of holds it somewhat flush against it. I'll put the other one in. Now, you can remove the fans, but from what I'm looking at, it looks like you have to do it from the bottom, I believe. And that, I don't think is necessarily ideal. So that's why I didn't necessarily go that route. Oh, for AM4, just so you know, it's the outer ones. So not the inner top ones, but actually the outer all the way around. And for Intel 11, basically all of them, it should be... Okay, so I'll actually show you the notes here. So for 1155 is going to be the far inside. The middle is going to be 11.5X, and then 1366, 2011, 2066 will be the far outer ones. So you should be able to see that right there. We're going to get this other one on here. I'm actually still using the same, just interestingly enough, the same screwdriver from, I think this came from the Scythe Kohler, if I'm not mistaken. For some reason I lost my other screwdriver, so I've just been using this. It works. It's not magnetic, unfortunately, but gets the job done. Get this all the way in. I did remove the plastic off the bottom already, so just food for thought. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that at this stage, but what we want to do now, and I'm going to point this down just a little bit so you can see, is we're going to want to get some of the stuff out of the way here. There's a bit of smaller pieces, and we want to basically put the board over top of this here. Sorry to get my bearings here. So set it down just like that. So far, after making a few mistakes, I have the back plate on, the spacers here, spacers up here, and then Remember, I'm not going to apply thermal paste just because I don't want to waste it, but you will be doing that step very soon. And where is... Oh, last one's right here. So there's more of an open piece and then a closed piece here. The open piece goes down like that. Okay, there we go. Oh, how to pull these off? You just it has to be from the top, and then it actually hinges in the bottom. So, yeah, that's the front fan. So this has to go like such. You just line it up, put it all the way down there. Now, if you want, it is really tight, so I'm not going to actually pull them out completely, but and then these guys go right over top of the screws that are hanging up here. I don't know if you can see those or not. So these screws right here, this is what these go over top of. Do the last one here. Oop. Figures. Dropped it. Hey, there's a little bit of static electricity on that. So there's a little bit of not that magnetic field. So, like, all I want to do is get this all the way down. As you see, I'm like literally having to settle for partial turns. But if it performs well, it says 220 watt TDP, then maybe we can look by it. What I'm hoping is this has a hard locking mechanism. So what I'm going to do is we're going to come back here in a minute once all these are done. Here's my take on it. So if two coolers are very similar to each other in performance, price, other features, that's one of the things I look at. You know, how easy was it to put together, stuff like that. And for some reason, this does not want to hook in the bottom. There we go. Okay. I'm just not that awake tonight. But either way, most of the mounting, like I said, was honestly fine. It was just, that last two pieces or last point's kind of like, I really wish I didn't have to deal with that. Where is... Oh. I'm like, how come that one's not coming through? There we go. So this does have the hook on the bottom, remember that? There we go. She's in there. I believe she's in at the bottom here. Actually, I'm not completely sold on that one. Go ahead and... That's about as good as she'll be getting here. And then let's take... We just need this piece. Very simple. We have 3 RGBs here. Just like that. And then this plugs into the addressable header down at the bottom, which I'll show you where it's at in a second. And then we have a splitter. Yeah, here's a splitter. just like that. Run this up to the front. And she's done. So, a couple things to notice. So I did take out the memory sticks, which I don't remember particularly where I put those at. But even if we had tall, right here. Even if we had tall piece of memory, I'm not entirely sure that would be an issue. So I generally don't go slot 4, 2, and 4. So I guess if you did have tall memory, it would interfere a little bit with the first slot. So what I'll say here is if you're going with 4 DIMMs or you need to populate the first one for any reason, make sure you don't get super high. Like, you know, this is relatively normal memory. Oops, I have it in backwards. Fail. So I'll put this all the way in, you guys can see. You know, there's a fair bit of room there. So you can get some heat sink, but if you're going with slot 2 and 4, like you are with most Ryzen boards, honestly, you're probably fine. There we go. So I gotta take this apart. Let's do Intel now. So, Intel time. I actually had the pleasure of already learning this to a degree here, which is always a plus. And there's actually a couple of things that are a little bit easier. Putting the back plate on isn't one of them, but I think the rest of the actual setup is actually a bit easier. So, you want the Intel logo, you know, facing up just like that. You're looking for the middle pieces for LGA 115X, and the washer still whoever top, just like for AMD. And what we're going to do is we're going to slide this through just like that, and take a really quick look. These are the Intel ones. Sorry, swap them out. They have 2 screws on the side, and it'll actually line up with the middle here. Next, we're going to take the spacers here, put all the way down, and we'll go ahead and screw in the silver cylinders all the way down. Had to get my other spacers. So it's going to be very similar to AMD from here on out. Literally, like, placement's going to be the only difference. So, but there is one aspect of this that I like. So for AMD, you had to use the tool. For Intel, that appears not to be the case. So I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. What you want to do is you do want to screw these on by hand until they're tight. Don't ever tighten them though, because it's definitely a possibility. Just like that. And then we see this is the front fan. The rear fan looks something like that. Looks kind of like on reverse. So we're just simply going to transplant this over, line up the middle hole here as well, just like that, and then we will put these on. Now what's really neat about the Intel build, I was kind of talking about this a second ago, is tightening these down is a lot easier, which is definitely a plus. I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. So taking the screwdriver from a previous build here, just like that. Very nice. So, and then these have a relatively hard stop. I'm just going to time down most of the way because we don't have thermal paste on. I'll still show you how it looks, but we won't keep it on very long here. This is just a test board anyway. It's a 1155 board, and then go ahead and wire this through. There we go. Just like that. Bottom in first. So make sure that's kind of put this down. Actually, I just realized that this one cable came undone here, so I'll slide that back under. There we go. It was actually a lot easier than I was anticipating, so that's a good thing. There we go. And in the back, same thing. Make sure you go bottom and first. Which I did not do. So let's try that again. And then all we have to do in this case is, because it's an older board, we're going to use the include controller, plug these three into their addressable RGB, and then do the 2-to-1. Let's go ahead and fire it up and see what it looks like. It's very important, and when I say don't do this at home, or do as I say, not as I do, you take me seriously. The reason why is no thermal paste. So I can't keep this on very long, even though it's just a test system. But just wanted to show you what it looked like. There's different speeds it looks like, or different modes rather. So pick up the camera, just briefly show you. Lights up in the back, lights up in the top, and that was probably a thermal throttling. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just not posting right, but we're going to go ahead and fire it down, but that's what it looks like. Well, she's on. So, this is my take. It has 6 heat pipes. Has 2 fans that look to add more static pressure than the other fans. It has RGB. I expect it to perform well. I cannot make an opinion on performance yet. That's to be a video here in a couple weeks. If you wanted me to make an early opinion, I know what's out there at $60. You have the Scythe coolers. For example, the Ninja is like $60. If you get the Mugen 5 and add another fan, that's around $65. The MA620P by Cooler Master, that's I think $65 or $70. The Master Liquid Light 120 is also $60. So there's a lot of options, even though Master Liquid Light 240 is also in that price range as well. So there's a lot in this space. And you don't have to spend a lot more to get like Noctua or Be Quiet. Downside is, with those is, they're, well, Be Quiet's okay looking, but the color's not there. So you do get, you get RGB. Their fans in the past have proved to be a staple in my inventory, so I like it. So I think, just based off of what I've seen, how heavy this is, the specs and everything, I personally feel that it will perform well, and it'll probably end up having a recommendation. However, I would really encourage you to, if you can wait, to wait for the performance test before you go out, run out and buy one. But if you really are looking for a cooler and you like this style versus like the dual tower coolers or like a Master Liquid Light 120 or the Scythe or whatever, I would be surprised if it did bad. It should do, I would say, at least on par or better than the competition at the price point. So that's kind of that. I want to thank PC Core for sending it to me. Hopefully this performs well. We'll find out soon. If you like the video, hit the like button, dislike, comment, get subscribed. Let's talk some more. Giveaways done. The guys reached out. I'm going to send it out to them here in a couple of days. If you want to buy this, link will be in the description below. But as always, everybody, this is Steve from PC Budget Solutions, and I'll see you later on down the road.